Welcome to the November meeting of the Bridges and Tunnels Committee. Do we have any public speakers? Do we have any changes in the work plan?
No, we don't.
Does anybody have any additions or corrections to the minutes of our last meeting?
Did you hear, Andrew? Do we have an agenda?
We have an agenda. No, we didn't ask that. All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Our esteemed Mr. President.
Thank you. I'd like to take note today, the 70th anniversary of the Queens Midtown Tunnel. 1940, then President Roosevelt was the first person to drive through the tunnel on opening day, and at the possibly.
They're downstairs. I think maybe we had an old picture.
Well, we have old pictures. At the time, it was the largest non-federal public works project in the nation. Ground was broken in 36, and 54 million man-hours were involved in building the tunnel. The cost, $58 million. We carried 4.4 million trips, and last year we handled better than 27 million. We've come a long way. I'd like to congratulate the current general manager, Mark Valentin, and the acting facility engineer, John Feister, and the entire staff at the Queens Midtown Tunnel. And we have some archival photos for you to look at this time. No, they aren't.
It's Long Island City. It's not a story. Other than that.
How would you know that?
We know that.
It's right along the
Did you know?
Long Island
No.
Railroad.
I don't know that. That's geographic on that.
Fiorello LaGuardia
Yeah.
property.
Same tunnel boring machine.
It's the same sign. It's still there.
No kidding.
What happened to them?
During the war.
Right, it was a wartime.
Yeah, wartime.
The shots that kind of show you Wrigley Brothers elephants going.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have that. They go through it every year.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Brooklyn Battery.
That was the battery, yeah.
Brooklyn Battery.
I'd also like to turn our attention to the Verrazano Bridge. I'd like to congratulate current Vice President Jim Fortunato and General Manager Dan DiCrescenzo in hosting another successful New York City Marathon. 45,000 runners participated in this year's marathon, and it was, I believe, the 41st year we hosted the event. We also have a film video of how we do the behind-the-scenes work prior to the start of the marathon. I think you would enjoy seeing this.
What was the total on the tunnel when it opened?
35 cents. 35 cents.
I don't know.
35. Was it 35 or 25?
I trust the woman.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Yep, there we go. Those are the finger joints that they're covering the bridge. That's for the expansion of the bridge. They cover it so the runners naturally don't get their foot turned in it. They're rather large. Extensive pre-operations, interagency meetings. We actually received so far over 5,000 hits on this bridge prep on YouTube. Okay.
Pretty cool.
Thank you, Joe.
Well,
There's 35 maintenance employees working, as you've seen in the time-lapse employees. Including fringe, the overtime cost to us is approximately $59,000. The remainder of the staff are working on straight time that are assigned there, bridge and tunnel offices. Predominantly, the cost is for the maintenance employees, and partially for some bridge and tunnel officers that are working their days off, and sergeants and lieutenants.
Would you like to give the rest of your report?
You tough man, Mark.
Okay.
Okay, the report on operations. David?
Thank you, Jim. I don't have a video presentation. So. The report, though, begins on page 13. Yeah. But my report does not begin in Astoria, that's for sure. Okay. In September, there were 24.6 million crossings, which was almost the same number as we had in 2009, about 56,000 more, to be precise. Looking at external factors, weather was a little wetter than it was in 2009, but gas prices were almost right on the same. Looking at customer trends, Easy Pass crossings for the month were up 2.3% versus September of a year ago. More importantly, the 12-month rolling Easy Pass daily average was the highest it's been in 24 months at 601,776 crossings on average over the 12-month period. That's, you can see that on Exhibit 4, which is on page 17. Cash-paying customers continue to decline. In September, they were down almost 6% versus September of the prior year. Passenger vehicle travel was up slightly, 0.3%, while trucks declined by 1.1%. Looking at crossings, the major Bronx crossings were down 1.4% for the month versus the prior year. Manhattan crossings were up 3%. The VN was down 0.4%. The Henry Hudson was up 2.3%, and the Rockaways were down 1.4%. Taking a look at October, the preliminary numbers for October are 25.4 million crossings, which is about 500,000 more than the prior October. So October is a lot better than September was. And that's my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer
You're
them.
still welcome to come back here full-time.
We'll turn to page 25. Jim Fortunato will give the customer environmental survey.
Good morning, everyone. The B&T striped the 55,033 linear feet of roadway striping in the third quarter of 2010, and we repaired 759 potholes in the third quarter. Our collisions were 4.9% higher in the third quarter 2010 versus 2009, and we're 2.6% lower for collisions with injuries in the same period. For our toll lane availability, we were slightly below goal for our changeovers. We're at the 97.7% compared to a 98.0% goal. And our cement trucks at the tunnels were 99.97, going through with no spills or barred vehicles. And that concludes the report.
Where are we at with the removal of the horizontal bridge second go-around?
Joe, you want to give an oversight on
Joe
that?
has that.
Yeah, as you know, we completed the Phase 1 earlier this year. We've since then awarded a second contract, which involves removing the HVAC air conditioning units on top of the Center 3 toll booths. That project is underway. And a third project, which is the major reconstruction of the interchange and the ramps, is nearing final design and will be going into procurement shortly. And we expect to have a first quarter 2011 contract award for that. So I think basically we're on target with the original plan that was laid out.
And when will those remaining groups be? What's the target date?
Yeah, so the one of the first phases of that large project that will be let in the first quarter of next year would be to remove those Center 3 toll booths. So likely you'll see that happen in the latter part of 2011.
Thank you, Mark. Being new to the committee, I hesitate to ask a question that may have been asked and answered many times before. However, that won't stop me. This is going back to David. The truck trend is quite uniformly down over an extended period. I just wondered if you had a qualitative comment on whether we're talking about trucks finding alternate ways to get where they're going, and secondly, whether what the relative revenue impact is of trucks versus cars. Are we talking about a substantial loss in revenue as a result of what presumably are higher tolls from trucks rather, now not coming into our coffers?
Yeah,
I could answer the first half of that question. It's just the economy. Oh. Can you hear me? It's the economy. That's why truck traffic is down. I don't think they're finding alternate routes. I mean, you can't, unless they've grown.
yeah, I would agree. And if you look
Wings.
at the Exhibit 6, which is maybe what the page you're looking at, that's on page 19, you can see that there's been this general decline from 2008. If you even went back to 2007, you would start to see it. But as you can see over the last maybe 8 or 9 months, it's kind of flattened out. So I think, you're going to see month to month, right? We've been seeing these month to month ups and downs, but basically we've kind of flattened out now. And I think the decline is all due to the economy.
Okay, we'll move along. Page 35, report on Easy Pass.
Okay, the Easy Pass report continues the good news that we've been seeing throughout the year. The market share was 76.3% in September, up about 1.5% from the previous year. The RFK, the Whitestone, and the QMT are the facilities that saw the biggest increases last month. There were 13,700 Easy Pass accounts that were opened during September. The year to date, that's 119,000, about 23,000 more than last year at the same time. And included in that total are 2,800 Easy Pass on the go accounts, about 21% of the total accounts opened. That concludes the Easy Pass report. If there are questions, I'll move on to the financial report, which begins on page 41. Also, pretty good news. Toll revenue for the month was up about $1 million against the mid-year forecast, about 0.8%, and that's reflecting the higher than planned traffic that we're seeing. Year-to-date revenue is up about 0.5% or $4.8 million against the mid-year forecast. On the expense side, expenses were about $1.6 million lower than the mid-year, 4.4%, and that's primarily due to the timing of maintenance and other operating expenses and professional service contracts. And year-to-date, our expenses are about $14 million lower, 4.5%. And that's due primarily to lower overtime spending, continuing a good story, about $1.4 million, 8.5%, and also lower spending for maintenance and other operating contracts and professional service contracts and materials and supplies. All came in lower, in large part due to timing. Our support to mass transit is it's more than $647 million through September, which is $39 million 6.5% better than planned. And that concludes the financial report. There's an item for the 2011 preliminary budget, which we submitted a couple months ago, as you know, and I believe on Wednesday at the board, the November plan will be submitted to the full board.
Your revenues are above forecast and your expenses are below forecast. You should keep that up. That's good.
We will try.
Well done.
We will try, Mark. Now we'll move on to the capital program. Joe King.
Yes, the capital report can be found on page 51. There were 9 commitments made in October with a total value of $9.4 million. Year to date, we're at $76.8 million awarded versus a planned year to date amount of $91 million. We're still optimistic that we'll award the remaining commitments for the year and come close to achieving our annual target of $187 million. Commitments made in October were small commitments, generally force account, some miscellaneous all-electronic tolling tasks, and some roadway work at the RFK Bridge. On the completions front, I'm happy to report year-to-date completions are running ahead of our baseline target. We've completed $242 million through the end of October compared to a year-to-date goal of approximately $216 million. The most significant completion made was the completion of the design for the Queens approach of the Bronx-Whitestone Bridge. We're beginning construction procurement on that project shortly with a target to award construction in our early 2011. Overall, we expect to exceed our overall completion goal for the year of $256 million. In closeouts, there were 3 closeouts made in the past month, bringing our year-to-date closeouts to $164 million. And unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
Procurements?
Procurements, page 61. Tony?
Good afternoon. There were 2 procurements this month totaling about $2.570 million. There are no non-competitive procurements. There are 2 competitive procurements, the first of which is a personal service contract with Ammon & Whitney Consulting Engineers, P.C., to provide construction management and inspection services for Project TN85C, suspended span repairs at the Throgneck Bridge in the amount of $2,479,565 for a period of 2 years, 6 months. Second is a modification to a personal service contract with Dr. Robert J. Nadig, M.D., doing business as Occupational Health Decisions for medical review officer services and to serve as our emergency health care provider for the use of external defibrillators in the amount of $90,000. And there are no ratifications. So, are there any questions?
Any questions on the procurements? Is there any motion to approve both of them? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I would like to report about 3 information items, if the committee is interested. The first 2 are in conjunction with Metro North Railroad all-agency competitive RFPs. One is a personal service contract for information technology consulting services. Contracts will be awarded under that agreement to 38 firms covering 65 categories of IT-related work. As a need arises, Bridges and Tunnels will solicit its requirements and pricing from each of the firms listed for a specific category. A purchase order or task order will then be issued to the firm whose consultant has been selected by our project manager. Our contract will be for a 5-year period in an amount of $4,900,000. The other procurement under Metro North Railroad is a miscellaneous service contract for IT training services. Contracts will be awarded to 7 vendors covering 25 categories of IT-related training. As training services are needed, Bridges and Tunnels will solicit course availability, curriculum information, and pricing from each of the firms listed under this specific category. Again, a purchase order or task order will be issued to the firm that meets our curriculum requirements and schedule. That contract will be for a 5-year period in an amount of $375,000. And finally, we're included in a New York City Transit multi-agency competitively bid miscellaneous service contract for cleaning petroleum and heating oil tanks that are above and below ground level at various locations. An award will be rendered to Petroleum Tank Cleaners Limited, who is our incumbent. That contract will be for a 3-year period in the amount of $43,820. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, moving forward, if you can turn your attention to page 67. We're looking to obtain the board's approval of a resolution. Peg?
We're asking the committee to complete the legal process we began in September by recommending to the full board that the board adopt the resolution to adopt the new regulation imposing a $50 fee on toll violators. The resolution and the regulation are on pages 69 and 70 of your book.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Concludes our report.
Thank you very much. Any questions, new business, or...
Just a quick, do we have any update on the Henry Hudson tolling proposal?
The proposal,
Well,
the
removing the toll gates.
that will be implemented sometime in mid-January. So we're moving forward. It's going along quite nicely.
Mid-January.
Yes.
Great.
The only new business I have is to welcome Jim. Welcome, Jim. Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, you have a question? You want to move to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
See you next month. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Paul.
How's the head count?
Thank you.